The Chiefs took the best defense all the way to overtime and knocked them out. Offense and defense contributed. We'll take a look here in the film room. Well, I just don't know what to say. This offense, this quarterback, this team, a lot of resilience shown. We're going to start talking about that right off the bat. Clearly, I have had a lot of coffee, so bear with me. This defense the Chiefs just beat is really, really impressive. Both from the communication that we saw on the backside, as well as the pressure they were able to bring in the front seven. The only thing that can really beat it is a near flawless performance or something that's really out of the extraordinary, and that's what we saw, especially from this guy. Now this is going to be a little bit different of a video. We're on a really short week, tight window to try to get these videos done for you. So I'm going to give you my overview thoughts, and we'll take some look at plays here later, just all back to back to back, and try to really hammer through it. The big takeaway for me is the resiliency of this team on both sides of the ball. You can say that this was an offensive performance, and Patrick Mahomes, like the thing we just saw, was really, really impressive. We'll look at more of his plays and a couple of others here coming up. But I think it's not just his play or the line's play. They were under duress all day long. I thought they stood up fairly well. Obviously, you can't keep that front out all the time. Udon came up bigger than I thought he would again against this particular matchup. So that's something to keep in mind. But it's the way the offense came together, despite the injuries, despite having a couple of problematic plays. Mahomes also threw a really nasty interception. So there are some drawbacks, but they kept fighting and they stayed together. And this defense came up big when it needed to, both in big plays and some sustained drive stoppers. That's important. And I think that what that tells you is they're getting better even though they're losing some guys. The absence of the running back, Tyreek Hill getting hurt, those are all things they had to overcome. And Tyreek, I can't say enough about him. The grit that they showed, and we saw something that they use in the locker room, thanks to Rick Burkholder. This is an important piece. This is what this team has to show, and they have to continue to improve this. They have to draw deeper, and they have to get better as the postseason comes along. We should talk about the postseason, because right now, the Chiefs are in the driver's seat. Even if they were to stumble once, especially against the Chargers, they still have the tiebreak situation that's going to keep them up at the first seed right now. As long as they win 2 out of these last 3 games, they will be the top seed in the AFC. That means everything flows through Arrowhead, and that is key to victory and moving on deeper into the playoffs than we've seen them do in a long time. And a Super Bowl rush is not out of the question. It really should be considered. I expect at the very least an AFC Championship game that this team needs to be there. It's going to be different. It's going to be up and down, and it's going to take both sides of the ball. As stressful as the defense has played, it is going to take both sides of the ball. So keep that in mind as we get closer and closer to making that push for the playoffs. These things, this upcoming week, I'll have a little bit of a game plan video. It'll probably be short and sweet this week as well. But this is the key game right here. You knock out the Chargers and sweep them, sweep the division for the year again, and it's clear just how far out in front they're going to be, especially what you've seen with the Saints and the Rams stumbling as of recently. Every week is different. Teams need to start peaking, and if the Chiefs can get past these Chargers, they're going to be on the upward trend. Hopefully getting some new pieces in. Kelvin Benjamin hopefully will be able to contribute this coming week. If you can do it with Tyreek Hill hurting, I think that's even better. We're going to see some changes in the running back position too. Right now, Spencer Ware hasn't practiced. Cam Irving hasn't practiced. Sammy Watkins is still out. So there's still a number of things going on here. But if they can get through that and get through this Chargers game and get on the other side, they're going to be that much better off for the playoffs. So as we get to the offensive plays, and like I said, I'm going to put these back to back and just do the voiceover so that you can hear my thoughts on them. Probably won't do as much explanation in between, just to keep this thing tighter and get this video out for you. But obviously, Mahomes is a big takeaway. Kelce had a big day. I thought Williams out of the backfield was a big plus, too. We're going to look at some of his plays. Both of them, maybe, so be prepared for that. Now, as good as the no-look pass was, this one's my favorite. And you see they're going to drop into a cover 2 here. Tight formation, not spread. And they're going to use this route combination to get both downfield and have underneath. He has to scramble, but he sees that Tyreek is turning the corner here while he's going to his right. And he sees a huge space in the middle of the field between the hashes that he knows his guy can get to. This is not luck. He lets it fly, and he realizes that Tyreek's acceleration is going to carry him to the ball first. Now, this is a two-man play. While that's a great throw on the run across your body, it is dependent on Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill made that play as well. You'll see here, tight, everybody lined up, and as he gets flushed out of this pocket, he sees Tyreek crossing, and he wants to come back to him. He realizes he can get there, and his guy can run underneath it. This is a confident play, but it takes the two of them. Here we're going to see Damien's touchdown, and it's interesting because the formation is trips to the right. With him crossing the formation, he's actually going to go through the line to get there, and his acceleration gets him there nicely. The action comes from, as the broadcasters said, 3 on the right, moving left. That caused some chaos in between, and hard for the linebacker to track Williams there as well. He also got off on the snap pretty late, but nice touchdown. This is the Darrell Williams pass in overtime. With Spencer Ware out, he just gets a little chip and slips out into the flat. Mahomes delivers the ball, and it turns into a nice 8-yard gain. Now, the interesting thing about this is he crosses the formation with a little play action fake here, like we saw with Damien earlier in the game. The ball is delivered smoothly. Good hands here from Darrell. I'd like to see him just attack downfield rather than dance a bit. Now, as critical as all those plays were, there was a lot done on defense as well. They had to come up. They had to put out and actually get something done. Interesting story in particular was about Hamilton pushing, and not confronting, but really pushing Justin Houston to step up and show just how good he is again. And just before we start rolling this, and I will include some of Justin's plays, but I just want to say that there's been a lot of talk about Justin Houston not being the player that he was. And maybe that's true. He might be a touch slower, but he still can come up huge in big pressure situations. He showed that against the Ravens. And thinking that he is somehow not as good a pass rusher as Dee Ford is out there and wrong. You'll see that from the national media. They just don't know what they're talking about, because Justin Houston is still just as formidable on any given down as he has been ever. Maybe it's a little more contrived. Maybe it's a little more thought out. It's not just as much raw aggression. But Justin Houston can change games, as you saw. Up there with the Von Millers, certainly with the Dee Fords. Justin Houston is a cornerstone of this team, and it's nice to see him perform. They're going to need him down this stretch. Let's take a look at the defense. Now, this is the impact play. This is the kind of thing that Justin Houston can do when he has to. This tackle is a little bit overmatched, and he did a lot of film work in order to help himself get to this point. Hits the quarterback, goes for the strip, and comes up with the play of the game, in my opinion. He got my game ball. Interesting to see, again, as I told you in the game plan last week, here's a bear front. The guards are covered. Sorensen's outside, and the tackle has to make a decision who to block. One of them's going to get a run. Why he chose to step out is probably because Houston saw on film he steps wide when it's going to be a pass. And Houston takes advantage of that, comes down hard inside off of that shoulder and gets home. Great play by Justin Houston due to film study. Now, this is a Kendall Fuller play that's really impressive because he's overmatched in terms of his physicality, but he uses his athleticism to make a big play against Mark Andrews, that tight end that Jackson likes to go to. They're lined up. He's a little bit off, but you see as Andrews is going to cross his face, he's going to trail him a little bit, get to the point where he can just make a lunge for the ball as it's delivered. He's got his eyes up and just attacks that ball and knocks it right out of his hand. And this is something you don't see all the time, but this is the good Anthony Hitchens. He's going to track what's going to go on. Come up, drop back down, and accelerate when he sees that Jackson is taking off on his run. This is what's key, and this is why they do L-drills for linebackers in the combine preparation, because this is what you have to do. Come up, read your key, drop back into your zone, accelerate back down to try to attack that ball carrier. So that said, all those defensive plays, if you have somebody that stood out to you, either positive or negative, please let me know. We're going to see how they come in and handle at home against the Chargers. That will be a really telling thing as well. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe and the notification. Let us know what you think and give me that thumbs up if you like what you saw. If I missed that, it's a little bit late this time, but I appreciate all you guys that are here every week, and this channel's doing great, and I continue it. I hope you enjoy it. This is going to be a compressed week. We'll get back to normal afterwards. But thanks for watching today, and I'll talk to you next time.